Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Houston Oasis. My name is Alexis Potaman. I'm the MC today. It's my pleasure to be your MC for today. Behind me, you can see our core values, including people are more important than beliefs, and meaning comes from making a difference. We've got a very exciting lineup for you today. Our musical guest is Bex Brown. Our community moment will be given by Mike Nelson, and our featured speaker is Chuck Redding. I'm very excited and honored to introduce our main speaker today. Chuck Redding is a retired mechanical engineer who spent most of his career in the oil and gas industry. He dabbled in falconry during the 60s, training some red-tailed hawks and American Kestrels. Since getting a falconry permit in 2004, he's flown Harris hawks, red-tailed hawks, American Kestrels, and red-shouldered hawks. He served as Southern Director and then Vice President of the Texas Hawking Association and has published falconry articles in various falconry magazines. Please help me welcome to the front, Chuck Redding.
Hello. There it is. If anyone wants to know why we left Eddie's Dance Hall, I'm getting some feedback. This was the reason. So I'm going to run through this presentation. Most of you have probably seen it, but it's morphed constantly over the years. And it'll make the test at the end a lot easier. So, is this the one? There it is. There's my website, if anybody is that interested. And I'm not getting older, I'm getting better. So there it was. This is a big, huge female red-tail. You can't tell from the picture. She outweighs him by probably 60%. So that was the second red-tail that I trained. I was up in Illinois. There's 81 slides. Believe me, we'll zip through them. I'm more interested in the Q&A, and I think most folks like that part. So this is the same hawk right here. That was the day we trapped him up in Fort Worth. Everyone hear me okay? And look at the difference. This is just about a month or two later. This is a real wet day. That's why he's got his wings out. But there he is in December. And there he is, I don't know, probably February, completely relaxed. So this is my other hawk, Farrah. I'm going to bring her out. I don't have her hooded, so she may have just a short visit out here. But she's got a squirrel there. Oh yeah, that's probably, can you all see the slides? The other thing is, if anybody is really interested, send me an email. chuck.redding@gmail. And you can have a link to this thing. And there's some pretty nice pictures in here that aren't really apparent when you look at them here. Y'all here okay? So here's my other hawk. And I was going to bring him by himself this morning. I just picked him up 2 weeks ago. I've had a long on and off relationship with this hawk. But I drove out to New Mexico in 4 days back and forth and got him. And he used to be really friendly. So I was just going to have him sit here and visit with people, but he's changed a little bit. So he's not as friendly. He's friendly in that picture because he's not sitting on my fist. And there's Cisco. He's a good-looking rascal, huh? And there's his teammate. This guy always insists on being in any presentation I do, regardless of topic. He wants to be in it. So there he is again. He paid extra to be in this picture. Facts, everybody knows about their eyesight. They can see a mouse a mile away, if you can believe that. And the other thing that's amazing about their eyesight is even in a close environment like this, their ability to discriminate between things that look the same to us. Like this new Harris hawk looks exactly like the earlier Harris hawk. He's just slightly smaller. Both of the hawks recognized instantly that he was a different hawk and got all except this guy, all he wants to do is attack him, and he looks just like the other hawk. There's something that he could see that probably if I sent you to the yard, you'd say, oh yeah, it's the same one, right? So they live a long time in the wild, but they live in a rough world, so about 2/3 of them don't survive the first year. Does that picture look familiar at all? I brought that in. You see that bulge under his chin there? That's a cotton rat that he ate. And hawks have a sort of a pre-stomach, and it doesn't do any digestion at all. It's just a storage thing. And with convergent evolution, owls don't have crops, you know? It's just sort of, same kind of lifestyle, hunting, catching the same kind of prey, yet they don't have a crop. So crops sometimes can be a liability. Females are bigger than males. This guy is kind of an average-sized eastern red-tailed hawk. Big raptors, you ever see a bald eagle fly? They look just lumbering and slow. They can fly down a peregrine falcon in level flight like the peregrine's not even standing still. It almost happened to my friend who nearly lost his peregrine, but in a dive, 243 miles an hour. Yeah, pretty amazing. There's a guy out in California who's a skydiver, a falconer, and a pilot, and he trained his peregrine to chase a lure that he dropped from the airplane. Oh yeah, he's a physicist too. And their best time they ever got with that rascal was 243, which is pretty amazing for something that's about 1.5 pounds and mostly feathers, right? Red-tailed hawk, these guys eat a lot of rodents. Harris hawks, this is one of the reasons they're so popular. And they are worldwide. The Harris hawk is the most popular falconry bird. And they act like wolves. They're very social. And they do the same thing with the falconer. And it really makes them they're a lot of fun to fly. They're a little different. These guys are more aloof. You know, they're both effective, but there's an interaction that you get with a Harris hawk that you don't get with really any other type of falconry bird. Difference, I hear this question all the time, right? What's the difference between hawks and falcons? Now here's something, this is the only thing I'm going to sort of stress, and if you get bored, just either yawn real obviously or make some noise or do something. But anyway, in the United States, in the world actually, there's 3 major groups: buzzards, falcons, and hawks. The red-tailed hawk is a buzzard. If you took him to Europe and you didn't tell them it was a red-tailed hawk and they didn't recognize him, they'd say it's a red-tailed buzzard, right? You like that one? Okay. And likewise, the Harris hawk. Falcons, the peregrine and the kestrel are probably in the United States the 2 most popular falcons. And then the true hawks, the goshawk and the Cooper's hawk. The goshawk used to be the dominant game hawk in the United States, but they kind of got pushed back in terms of numbers by red-tails and Harrises because of the probably personality as much as anything else. They're more stressed, they're just more high-strung, a little more difficult, and red-tails and Harrises are really capable, plus they're pretty widely available. You can trap a red-tail anywhere from the Yukon to the Yucatan, really. Red-tails are everywhere, out into the Caribbean too. Okay, real quick, I'll run through this, but what do falcons look like? Slim body, pointed wings, dark eyes. They have a little stripe under their eye. That's a prairie falcon. My only regret in falconry, and I'm kind of getting up there, is that I never had a chance to fly a prairie falcon. To me, this is the most beautiful of the falcons. There's a peregrine, that's classic. See how they have the stripe under the eye, but it's kind of turned into an entire mask. If I'm going too slowly, just do something, because there are 81. We'll be through in a minute. This is a merlin. This guy looks big in the picture. He's about the size of a mourning dove. And my ex-sponsor, Jim Entz, has flown probably 15 merlins. He loves them, and they're just little guys. But they're very active, and they chase small birds. There's the American kestrel. It's even smaller. I messed around with those a few times. They're little, but they're tough little rascals. They catch starlings and small birds generally. Here's the other end of the falcon spectrum. This is a gyrfalcon. This is the biggest of all the falcons in the world. A big female gyrfalcon is bigger than the biggest red tail you're ever going to find. They don't look it because falcons tend to be more compact, less fluffy. So my buddy who was going to come today, Mike Weigel, he has 2 peregrines. One of them is a tundra peregrine that he trapped down in Padre Island last year. He was going to bring him, but it's a little bit early in the year. He's just getting them out of the chamber from molting. They get rid of their feathers over the summer. Okay, the true hawks. Light eyes, they're very active, rounded wings. This is the hawk you've probably seen. Everybody in the room has seen these guys around. They're bird feeders and so on. Yeah, they're all over. And if you don't believe in evolution by natural selection, in the last 30 to 40 years, these guys have changed their behavior in an unbelievable amount. When I was growing up, they were so shy you'd never see them. Now they'll nest right in your front yard. That's a pretty amazing change. And this guy looks bigger than the other. This is another tiny little rascal. He's so big. The male sharp-shinned is the smallest raptor in North America. And they mostly eat sparrows and very little stuff. And you'll occasionally see them in Houston. But generally, the Cooper's hawks are so dominant, these guys don't come around that much. There's a goshawk. This used to be the game hawk. And they're spectacularly athletic. They're wonderful. They're just not as easygoing as red tails and Harrises, and I think that's the reason they've kind of declined in popularity. But I've been out in the field with a couple of guys with goshawks, and they're in their own world in terms of ability to fly and catch and everything else. They're very cool. In fact, they fed Europe for 300 years ahead of the advent of firearms. And it's not goshawk, which a lot of people like to say. It's kind of a funny word, but it's goshawk. There's another goshawk. There's a Cooper's hawk there, just to show you the comparison between a falcon and a true hawk when they're flying. That's how they look. The size, of course, is wrong. The prairie is about the same size as a Cooper's hawk. There's a sharp-shin flying around. And now here's what's interesting. Are you aware that this is a buzzard and not a hawk? Raise your hand if you are. There you go. Yeah. Anywhere but the United States, they would be called buzzards. And in Europe, there's the European common buzzard. You'll see, I'll show you a picture of him. They're just like, buzzards are basically like small eagles. They have the same kind of general body shape, and they hunt sort of similarly and so on. And they've got kind of a calm disposition like an eagle. There's this guy. And in the UK, they do call these guys, they call them red-tailed buzzards sometimes, and correctly. And now there's a European common buzzard. Very close relative of the red-tail. They don't have the firepower that a red-tail has. So the only people who fly these are maybe new falconers, because they're easy to get along with and so on, but they don't have near the capability of a red-tail. There's my Harris hawk. You'll see her in a few minutes. Now this guy, one of my slides says that the buteos mostly catch small mammals and ground prey. These guys eat nothing but birds. And you see them mostly in southern Florida. They're not real common. In fact, they're nowhere except in southern Florida and south of there, into Central America some. How's the pace here? Everybody okay with the pace? Okay. This is my red-shouldered hawk. She was the best looking and smartest hawk I ever had, but she got face aggressive and nailed me 3 times in the face, so I had to let her go. But she used to catch a lot of birds. You can't see too well, but there's a starling and it wrapped up in my hand there that she had caught. Now, this is another buzzard with a different genus, you see. They're all buteos except this guy, right? I can't even say that word, that's why I'm not saying it. But he's about the size of a red tail. I'll show you a very close relative of him in a minute that is about 3 times the size. This is the biggest American hawk right here, a ferruginous hawk, very fast. People hunt jackrabbits with him. This guy right here is basically a huge buzzard, but at 7 pounds, he outweighs this guy by 3.5 times. Is that right? They're huge, but they're really genetically, they're extremely closely related to this. So there's my hawk flying, there's an inset. There he is just about to catch something. This is out in Brookshire, this guy right here. And the next picture, down he goes. This is what's kind of cool about this sport. And there's a wild Harris hawk. I have no idea why that picture's in there. And now we're just going to see, anybody who doesn't like dead animals, you'll see a bunch of them right here. Red tail, it's all ferret Cisco. So there he is with the jackrabbit up in Amarillo. That was about 10 years ago. There he is, there's my dog in the background. The dog and the red tail hunt squirrels together. And they get along just great unless the dog encroaches, which he does occasionally. And then he gets popped and he screams like he's getting his head ripped off, and then he's back at it a few minutes later. But there he is with a swamp rabbit. Swamp rabbits are basically cottontails on steroids. They're about the size of a black-tailed jackrabbit. They're huge, as you can see from that picture. That guy weighs about 6 pounds. My hawk weighs 2 pounds. There's Pharaoh with a squirrel. There's Pharaoh with a cottontail. There's Pharaoh with a swamp rabbit. This was right after Harvey, about a month after Harvey, probably 5-minute drive from my house along Terry Hershey Park. You all know where that is? Yeah, this is right along the park there. Somebody's backyard. There she is with the only jackrabbit she ever caught, Farrah. Anyway, in the United States, this is kind of the order of popularity of falconry birds, red tails, Harrises, and peregrines. Probably in that order is correct, just based on my observation. If I can get this to work, you all seen this one before? You see there's a squirrel under there? There it is, perfect. It's all legal too. Ah, there you go. I have 2 more videos. But anyway, see what's kind of funny about that? This is a wild red-shouldered hawk. It's going to be in slow motion first. And that is a big squirrel. That squirrel outweighs that hawk at least by 100%. And that is, red-shouldered hawks are not big and beefy like red tails. Watch this hawk. He anticipates the squirrel going high and goes above that. You say the squirrel's low, but he knew she was going up the tree. This is telemetry. Every hawk I fly carries a little radio. And those are those little small things down below. They weigh a few grams. You either put them on the tail or on a harness or on a leg, something like that. And then the top is just a receiver, and it looks for the beep. That's how you find them if they go over the horizon. Or if you're just lazy, sometimes they're off in the woods and you want to go home or something, you'll use the receiver and find them to get them. So, birds of prey, horned owls. These guys are fierce. A few people fly them as falconry birds. Mostly they're kind of a hazard to your hawks if they get out and have to stay overnight. Mississippi kite, you all seen some of these? They're in late summer, they nest in Houston. You see them all over. They look like little falcons. Susan, I know, has seen them because she sent me a message or two relating to them. They're real pretty, but they're not a falconry bird. They catch cicadas mostly, unless you like to catch cicadas, and they're excellent. These guys you might see if you go out toward Katy in the open fields, northern harriers, they zip around, and they're not widely used for falconry. And just real quick, buzzards, falcons, and hawks. There's my friend and ex-sponsor, Jim Entz. That's a first-year tundra peregrine that he trapped, but he's out hunting with her. There's a prairie falcon with a duck. There's a goshawk this is a wild goshawk, I believe. I don't think this is a falconry bird, but he's got some bird. There's another goshawk. They're beautiful, aren't they, these goshawks? And there's a buzzard, my red tail with a squirrel. And there's my harrishawk with a squirrel. So that is the, see, 81 slides, just like that. So if you can think of questions, this is the part most folks enjoy. This kind of, if there's Q&A, try to think of things. If you see something up here that looks interesting to you, were we gonna take a break or not?
It's okay.
Whatever you want to do.
I was thinking we'd just go straight into Q&A.
Oh, okay. But I was going to bring out the harrishawk. Okay. It's the only, we can do, Susan, you get the special question.
This.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Okay, so buzzards.
Buzzards.
When I first, opened up my eyes and ears about birds around here, and I heard them talking about buzzards.
Right.
They were talking about
vultures.
Turkey
vultures and
turkey
black
vultures
vultures.
and the black vultures, and so I set myself straight a long time ago. Where do vultures fit into the whole presentation?
They're just another generally related genus, and they're strictly scavengers. And what happened, the reason that these guys are not called buzzards is when the ornithologists came over here, they kind of scrambled everything up. If you go to bird books published around the time I was growing up, half of the falcons are named wrong, all the buzzards are named off, and they still are. They never corrected that. And the harrier was called a marsh hawk, the peregrine falcon was called a duck hawk, merlin was called a pigeon hawk, Kestrel was called a sparrowhawk. Everything was kind of screwed up. And these guys were just, the whole genus was misnamed. And buzzards, they probably didn't correct it because it's sort of a pejorative now. If you say, well, it's a buzzard, it sounds like you think of an old, something with a dead possum hanging from its beak or something, So that's probably why they still call these hawks. So, yes, sir.
Do you want to go get the other bird and then do Q&A?
Why? Remember when we were doing this online, I went off to get a hawk and you had to do a song and dance before I came back? So you might want to take the break. I'll go get her.
Okay.
Does that work?
That works fine.
Is that good with everybody?
We'll just take a couple of seconds because there seems to be a lot of questions, but I want to see the other bird too. So. Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
So this is a great chance. Everyone think of your questions.
One other thing. Here's some Falconry magazines here. If you want to look at them, I've got some articles in there and pictures and things, so just have a look. So anyway, thanks. Oh. I had my mic on the whole time. It's a good thing I didn't curse. Hello. There you go. Whoop. Yeah, she's, remember how calm she was at that Zoom presentation? Those of you that were on it, I know Ted was on it, Mike was on it. Is that me? Thanks. Kill. This is, that's what you get when somebody helps you. No good thing. How come it's so,
This one's working. Yeah. If you can switch it off. Yeah. Turn it off. I'm going to pick up.
pretty crunchy. Whoa. Pardon? Hello?
That one working?
She's pretty calm. Any questions? Anything up there that appeals to anybody? Yes, sir, in the back. Or Ted.
Hey, Chuck. During your talk, you were talking about goshawks.
Right.
And you said something about 300 years, and I didn't quite get what you were talking about there.
Basically, ahead of firearms, the goshawk put food on the table in Europe for about several hundred years. It was the primary. I don't know what they're paying you, Kevin. That's what you get for volunteering. Oh, they go out and get it. Yeah, rabbits and pheasants, and goshawks are very versatile. So,
Real quick one, over here.
yes, sir.
Yeah. One question that's up there that I was thinking about, do you have to be careful about them attacking your eyes?
No. But I get that question all the time.
Yeah.
So I've only heard that about 50 times.
That's because of the movie The Vikings back in the 50s.
Well,
That's why, you know.
Even
I can tell you where that comes from.
That was a goshawk. And if you watch that movie carefully, he didn't go with his peck his eyes out. He went straight to his face with his feet. In fact, that happened to me when I was about 14 with a red tail. Knocked me over backward, and she was bound to my face. And this hawk got me this morning, you see.
Yeah.
But it's inadvertent when they do it. Yes, sir.
Oh, hon. Wait for the microphone.
Hello?
No, it's streaming on.
Thank you so much for the talk, sir. It was great.
You're welcome.
And that's a beautiful bird.
Thank you.
So, as a falconer, do you have your own? So, can there be more than one falconer close to each other, or do you also have like your own territories, just like the falcons do?
You just you hunt where you can, basically. My rule is if it's not posted and there's no fences, I'll go in. I also hunt on the edge of parks for squirrels with my red-tailed hawk. I hunt squirrels a little bit with her, but she tends to get bitten up a lot more. Remember I said how personable Harris hawks?
And so, if I imagine during their younger years, they are at a risk to get lost, or do they always come back?
They don't always come back. I've lost my fair share over the years. When I first became a permitted falconer in 2004, even though I had trained a few birds before that, I lost 3 hawks that were not two American Kestrels and a red tail. But in general, it's like increases your chances 10 times. But you can find them. If you can find them, you can usually get them back. But when you lose them is when they go over the horizon, and then it's a needle in the haystack. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead and repeat it if you don't mind.
Oh, okay. The question is, after you acquire a bird, and sometime later you send them out on a hunt or something the first time, why do you think you have a reasonable chance of that bird returning? What have you done during this training sequence?
First, you get them. When you get them, you saw that one picture of the hawk. He was just petrified. If I had let him, remember the picture of my hawk when I'm carrying him? If you let him go at that moment, you'll never see him. I wonder what happened. Anyway, but during the time, you get them tame, and you start to feed them. And so pretty soon they're eating on your glove. And once you feed them, they're very intelligent. Right up until the moment that they eat, they look at you as the ogre that's going to eat them any second, right? The minute you give them something to eat, a lot of times they'll turn their head and they'll give you a quick look. You've reached a threshold. Usually within a day, that rascal will be flying across the room to you. Take them outside and you repeat it. You keep them on a long line, and before you release them, you need to have them coming instantly 100 feet on a line. And new apprentices, it's sort of like when you're soloing and you're taking flag lessons and you're soloing. When you take that leash off, it's a real nerve-wracking experience. But apprentices hardly ever lose hawks the day that they free flight them. I only know one exception, and that happened to be an apprentice of a friend of mine. So now I can't say that they never lose them, but it's really, you're being so careful. And then there's a slight, but that's typically not when you lose them. It's not early. It's usually something happens. You're flying a peregrine and a ball terrifies your peregrine as he goes over the horizon, right? And you can't track them with your telemetry and that kind of thing. But it's this guy loose yesterday after being tethered all summer. She just finished her molt. So.
All right. There's a lot of questions. To make sure everyone be going in the order. You gotta wait.
Would you mind calling on whoever you want to have ask the question?
I have the microphone, so I'm going to ask a question. A lot of the critters these things catch aren't passive.
Aren't what?
Aren't passive. How do they get bit? They're pretty aggressive.
Oh yeah, and when I hunt squirrels, there's always a lot of tension in doing it. I'm always a little bit on edge with squirrels. Rabbits, swamp rabbits can kick the hell out of your hawk, and squirrels can bite. A typical cottontail or redtail hawk can just flatten. But squirrels, in my opinion, are the nastiest. And to that, jacks and swamp rabbits. Yeah, they're big. They outweigh the times. So it's a good question.
Over here.
Yes.
The hood for?
I'm sorry?
The hood? What is the hood for?
The hood, you notice how nervous she is? That's what the hood's for. Cisco came out here and he was not nervous at all. And that's why you hood them. It protects them from visual stimulation that really is,
Cool.
they're so visually oriented. It calms them right down.
That's awesome.
She gets
I actually have a quick follow-up to the hood. Can the bird see when they're wearing the hood, or
No.
completely blind? Or completely?
The ideal hood, it's completely dark in there.
Do we have any questions on the other side over there? I think Ken up here at the front. Ken up at the front has a question. We're trying to ping pong back and forth between sides.
Yes, sir, Ken.
So how much lift can that bird generate?
The rule of thumb I use is about half their weight. So this hawk weighs about 1 3/4 pounds. So you cut that in half. That's typically what they can carry from a dead stop. If they swoop in, obviously they've already got airspeed. They can carry more. You've seen this idea that eagles fly off with wolves and all. It's just nothing but nonsense. They will knock stuff off of cliffs and then go get them. They'll even bind to them on the way down, but there's no way. A golden eagle, big female golden eagle, probably couldn't carry a big house cat. So.
You have a question back here?
Hi, do you think any of the birds are capable of affection or love towards you?
Yeah, in their own way, and especially Harris hawks, believe it or not. She's not happy with me this moment, but one time I had to take a long trip, and I left my red tail with a friend of mine, the guy that has the 2 peregrines. I was gone a month, and he fed them and everything. They're getting along fine. When I showed up in the backyard, he starts chip, 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 chip the whole time. Mike said, he hasn't done that once in the last 4 weeks. But it isn't, they don't cuddle with you or anything particularly. But these guys in particular are very
friendly between you and the hawk. So. Oh,
You may have already answered my question, but I had a Chihuahua. She lived to be 19 years old, and we lived, mainly here in Houston. But then, for the last 4 years of her life, we were in Atlanta, Georgia. Every time I walked her here in Houston, all those, first years of her life, no one ever said anything about warning me about a bird.
right.
But when I got to Atlanta, like multiple people would just stop and not know me. Be careful for hawks, be careful for hawks. I don't know if there was some geographical reason, like difference between Houston and, northern Georgia, but they were really afraid, and they would just say, be careful for hawks. And so I started looking for hawks. I had never done that before.
Right. I mean, it does happen. A wild red tail might attack a small dog, and they're capable of doing some damage. But if your dog disappears out of your yard, it's almost certainly not any kind of bird, period, even a golden eagle. And they just don't carry. But yeah, it's like great white shark attacks, right? La Jolla, California, where the great whites get everybody. By everybody, it happens 3 times in half a century, right? You still go to the beach. So.
All right. Sorry, y'all. I do think that is all the time we do have during the gathering for Q&A. But will you be available after the talk?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm going to put her up because she's just nervous.
Yeah.
But she's going hunting tomorrow. So she's the first of my hawks.
Say it's okay. I get nervous being up here too. Yeah.
Here's this, let me set this down. Getting exercise here.
All right. So I know there were a ton of questions. I'm sorry if we did not get to yours, but Chuck will be available afterwards, and you can probably corner him on any given Sunday and talk to him about falconry too. All right, so our community moment will be presented by Mike Nelson, a longtime Oasis community member and Renaissance man. His delicious cookies are always a welcome treat each week, and he's an amazing dancer, and today he's going to be talking about personal safety. Thank you, Mike.
Hello. What I'm about to say is personal. It's not a recommendation. Based on my experiences and how I behave occasionally, I think I have very few favorite Republicans, but one of them said, "Walk softly, carry a big stick," right? A cane is one of the few weapons that you can carry worldwide without any questions. And there are plenty of YouTube videos on how to use it for personal self-defense, so think about it. That's all I'll say about the big stick. In terms of personal safety, personal protection, we have home insurance, right? Yeah, you have home insurance. Auto insurance, wouldn't drive without it. Medical insurance. You have liability insurance. A rider on your home insurance that protects you in case somebody has an accident around your house and wants to sue you for it. I just upped mine to $2 million. Didn't cost all that much, and somebody slips in my driveway, I won't worry about it too much. Around the house, outdoor motion lights. Somebody approaches, they know you know. Indoor motion lights. Walk into my house. I don't want any invaders to get hurt. So you walk in my house and I walk out in my living room. The motion lights come on so they can see where they can go and get their stuff and get out. Deadbolt locks on the outside doors, right? Window locks and door and window alarms. Do I need that? Okay, thank you. All right. Some people have video monitors. I'm too cheap for that, but I do have a storage safe and a safe room. If I have time. And by the way, it works. Mental practice has proven to be effective. So I worked out a plan for myself, and I had a false positive on an alarm. The alarm went off, grabbed my phone, grabbed my personal protection instrument, went into the back of my safe room, opened up the safe, got behind the 1/4-inch steel door, and called the cops. They were as pleased as I was to find out it was a false alarm. Called the alarm company. They came out and fixed it the next day. But it was kind of a fortunate event because it confirmed that my plan was effective. So have a plan for the family. Everybody knows what to do in case of an emergency, and practice it occasionally and think about it. And you also want one for a home invasion. Certainly fire drills and storm drills, but a home invasion, rare, but it happens. When you're driving, you want to reach your destination with minimal distraction. So if you don't flow with the traffic, which incidentally, if you keep track of it, is going to get you there within 2 or 3 minutes in aggressive driving. Aggressive driving has proven not to be all that effective. So give them plenty of room, and don't aggravate anybody, because people have been known to shoot out of their vehicles, as you've probably read in the news. Where's the backside? There we go. Hotels and motels. Well, here we go. Anybody have one of these? This is old, it's not white anymore. Put that in your hotel or motel room door, and if anyone opens the door, you'll know about it. I've traveled so long that this thing isn't white anymore. In public, buy gas in the daytime or at well-lighted stations, preferably truck stops. Use a pump with high visibility by station personnel, and get your cash from the bank, not a public ATM. In terms of defensive weapons, you could, as I have once been known to do, carry a. Now, this is a replica of a Ruger LCP. It's within a 1/16 of an inch of its actual size, and it fits here, but I don't carry. You pull the trigger, you launch a ballistic missile. It can go through 2 or 3 interior walls and still be deadly. It can go through your wall, out the window, into your neighbor's house, and who knows what's going to happen. But the last thing you want is one of your bullets in your neighbor's house. So I recommend pull a trigger at the very last resort. But if you have to, have a trigger to pull. But when you're traveling, this is about the best you're going to come up with, because it's legal everywhere. I think I might have mentioned that you can find plenty of YouTube stuff on how to use it. It's a medical device. Now, I have a friend who foolishly, I thought it was foolishly, this is plastic, by the way. carried one of these things. This is about the size of a big 45, full size. I don't know why this guy carried one for decades on his hip or on his back. It weighs about 2 pounds and never used it. It does go bang when you pull the trigger though. But I have another one that I will demonstrate, and because it's very much like in fact it's a modified real firearm, I'm going to treat it like a firearm. Barrel up, cylinder open. It's filled full of plastic, so it's particularly safe. But it's very good to practice with because it shoots a little red light. And if any of you want to see what how accurate you can use a firearm at the break or after the meeting, I'll be glad to let you handle this and see if you can shoot something on the stage, not any of your friends out there. Questions? Yes. I agree. However, one of the big misconceptions about the shotgun is, one, can you handle it? You might need to get a 20 gauge as opposed to a 12 gauge, because a 12 gauge can knock a person under 100 pounds halfway across the room. Second thing, and this might sound kind of strange, but most shotguns have interchangeable barrels. And some people hunt with a slug. It's a big lead bullet, and it's in a rifled barrel, so it spins so it can hold its trajectory. If you take a regular shotgun and someone's coming through your door, even the door back there, you're going to have to aim pretty good because your spread's going to only be about that big. You're not far enough away for those. But if you put birdshot or buckshot or any kind of shotgun pellets, a group of pellets, through a rifled barrel across the room, you'll cover the entire door. So if you want a shotgun for home protection, I highly recommend you check about the efficacy of a rifled barrel for a shotgun for indoors. The other thing I might mention, I have time to mention, or am I out of time? Is if you get a break-in, you want to let the person know you know they're there. This is one of my recent, I finally decided the thing to do is not to be quiet, but to be noisy. Say, I know you're in the house. I've called the police. They're on the way. You need to get out as soon as possible for your own personal safety. If you come to where I am, you will not leave on your own because you'll be severely harmed or dead. So don't come where I am. Get away from me as far as you can. I used to think being quiet was the way to go. Now I think make noise. Let them know that you know they're there, the police are on their way. Their best option is to grab what they can and get out.
So I do want to take this moment real quick to highlight some of our upcoming events that we've got happening. We have a bar night on October 1st, Saturday at the Richmond Arms. We also have our weekly card game. So if you're interested in that, talk to Richard about the Oasis, was it the Players Club? Is that what's? Cards. Oasis cards. We also have a road trip up to Dallas to visit an Oasian from Florida who's recently moved to Dallas, so she's relocated there, and some people from here and Galveston Bay are going to do a road trip up there and hang out and have fun. No, they're going to Dallas to see an Oasian, but then there's also, Yeah, then, yes, that's a separate event, though. Yeah. So, pardon? Oh, it's the same event. Same event. They're going to go to the Ren Fair and do a road trip to State Fair. I thought there was talk about the Renaissance Fair. So when they go up to Dallas, they're going to do the State Fair as well. But we do have a Renaissance Fair event. There is a separate Renaissance Fair event. Yeah, it's all there. And then October 19th, book club, American Crusade by Andrew Seidel. We do have the books at the back. They have not hit stores yet, so you can get it before anyone else. And then we have a second bar night this month as well, Saturday, October 29th at King's Beer House. Both of our bar nights, we will probably have the speaker who's speaking there. We can't say for sure, but there might be a big name speaker, especially on that October 29th one. Hint, hint, wink, wink. And we'll go ahead and let Richard is going to give us a quick talk too.
Hey folks, Richard Andrews, I'm the Oasis treasurer. So I wanted to mention a book that we have in the back. It just came out. This is our speaker for October 16, Andrew Seidel. His book, American Crusade, How the Supreme Court is Weaponizing Religious Freedom. So he'll be our speaker October 16, and then on October 19, which is the third Wednesday, I think, of October, it will be talked about at the Oasis Book Club. So you're welcome to join us for that. And that's for sale for $10 in the back. And they're normally about $25, but we're getting a discount and the money goes to the Oasis. So that's in the back. I wanted to mention something about lunch today, which in the program you'll see that it says, if you want to join us at lunch afterwards, it was going to be at Fuddruckers, but because there's construction on 59, which some of you may have run into, we decided to move it to a local Afghan restaurant called Kandahari, which is at 5626 Hillcroft. 5626 Hillcroft, so please join us there. The Houston Oasis card group, mostly bridge, but you can play any card game you want to, and that meets weekly, usually on Wednesday. If you're interested in that, you can let me know. But you can email me actually at either my personal email address, which is in here, or you can. Oh, you can. Oh, testing. So you can email me at the email address in here, and I'll put you on the list to be notified of the Houston card things and to share with you the Google spreadsheet that we use to sign up for the card night and stuff like that. Normally it's on a Wednesday. This particular week it'll be on Thursday at 7 p.m. at Jennifer Payden's house. She's raising her hand in the back there. So if you're interested in the card group, and you don't have to know anything about the card games. If you're a complete idiot on bridge, don't worry. We can teach you how to play. So please join us for that. And I think that's about it.
Sitting at Agora, drinking coffee with you. Well, maybe it's a glass of wine, honestly, either would do. Talking about nothing, smoking one last cigarette. In a couple weeks, we'll be swearing tomorrow we'll quit. Walking in the rain, I hear you call my name. I would rather not do this with anyone but you. All roads lead to you. You're my absolute. Nothing else will do. I'd rather be with you. Sitting at Agora, drinking coffee with you. Well, maybe it's a glass of wine. Honestly, either would do. Talking about nothing, smoking one last cigarette. In a couple weeks, we'll be swearing tomorrow we'll quit. Walking in the rain, I hear you call my name. I would rather not do this with anyone but you. All roads lead to you. You're my absolute, nothing else will do. I'd rather be with you.